It's so goddamn hot. Oh man, I am sweating bullets. Welcome back, fellow gamers. So today I wanted to go over, I promised I'd make a video about speculations that I did on cards that were just released or just spoiled, and my biggest successes with identifying certain cards. So I'll go over about 4 or 5 cards, probably 4, that I speculated on, and they happen to win big, and take you down memory lane as I tell you how I evaluated and chose those specific cards. And in a later video, I'll tell you my biggest busts. That one's a bit more embarrassing. So yeah, we'll start off with Tasigur. So Tasigur, when he was spoiled, there was kind of like this, like, oh yeah, he looks cool. And I didn't really pay that much attention to him either. Like, I'm not some voyeur. I read somewhere that Japanese players were going crazy over Tasigur, and that caused me to look into him just a bit more. The one thing that stood out to me was his delve mechanic. So one of the strongest mechanics in Magic is mana reduction, or playing cards for lore or for free. It's time and time again, like, they get so busted that you kind of have to pay attention when that happens. And obviously Delve was a really strong mechanic. If you look at Tasigur, you look at Treasure Cruise, Dig Through Time, like, these were big, like, these were cards that people didn't expect them to perform as well as they really did, because Delve was, and it only appeared in Future Sight at the time, so people weren't really, in completely up to date, or not up to date, but like, they weren't aware of how strong it was, even though, like, that demon that was there was an expensive. The demon that was in Future Sight, I forget his card name, put up on the screen. But he was an expensive card at one point, and I remember, like, thinking, why was that? And then realizing that he had Delve, and paying 2 black for him to get a 5/5 was pretty pretty good. Now, okay, so once I really evaluated what Tasigur was really good for, like, he can come out for 1 mana. His ability has the chance of bringing back some good stuff. So I decided to invest. At the time, he was $3, and I went, I think it was like 8 copies, and really, like, held on to it until I think they hit $12 or $15 at one point, and that's when I unloaded them. Yeah, so I was really evaluating, like, so first of all, listening to what people are saying on the internet, and then re-evaluating the card and seeing why the card was generating hype, and why and what implications they could have, or applications that they could have. The other card, probably I think my best speculation ever, was Hangerback Walker. I bought into him, and I broke my rule here for this one, because I just absolutely knew that he was such a beast. I bought 25 copies of him at $1, I think it was $1.10, if not 99 cents. And my thinking, though, so the way I looked at it was, I thought Liliana was going to see a lot of play in Standard. She saw a bit of play in Hindsight, but I thought that for her to just, like, flip over the turn that she comes down, you play Hangerback Walker for 0, and it acts like a trigger, and to flip Liliana, and then you get your 2/2 zombie along with it. So you're technically paying nothing for the flip, and for an extra 2/2. I ended up being completely wrong on that, and, like, I don't think she was used like that, or Hangerback Walker was used like that at all. I did also kind of, like, realize that if late game, or you needed, like, a big creature, that you could put a bunch of counters on them, and then find a way to sack it to generate a bunch of Thopters. I thought that was a good way of going. I thought Modern, having all those Thopters out and playing Arcbound Ravagers on board, and I saw the Modern implication there, but, like, my Standard evaluation, while I knew it was a busted card, I didn't know. I took it in a different direction. Still, I sold them at, I think, 18 bucks a pop. Well, I sold a few at 9 because some of my buddies wanted them and they didn't get them, so I sold them at 9 when they were like at 13 or 14 bucks. But for the most part, like that, yeah, that has to be my best spec. The other one was Jace Vryn's Prodigy. So I don't actually speculate on mythics pretty much ever, simply because they are usually extremely overhyped and way more expensive than they should be. I went through looking at Jace and I'm like, okay, it's a merfolk looter with the ability of being something else later on. I'm like, my standard like looks like it could be played in standard, but I looked at Legacy and Vintage, and I saw maybe there was an opportunity there. I think I bought them from Card Kingdom. They had them listed at like 12 bucks. And I'm like, that's really low for a mythic and for a creature that turns into a planeswalker. Like, it's a brand new thing. Like, they haven't done flip walkers before, and one of my criteria is looking at things that they haven't done before and, you know, trying to jump in on it. I looked at all the other planeswalkers and like they're pretty cool, except for I don't really like Gideon, but I mean, they all look pretty cool, but they're all more expensive. So I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely gonna try with Jace. And Jace, for some reason, like he just, yeah, he's blue, right? So you never know what happens with blue cards. I speculated small on this one though, because they're already $10 or $12. I was like, I don't want to buy like 8 copies. I bought 4. I bought a play set, and I ended up flipping them when they're $23. I got $23 in trade value for each because I traded them all at the same time, and I traded into foil fetch. I traded into an expedition. Which one? I think I traded into an expedition, so I thought it was good at the time, and I still don't regret it. I mean, I got them for 40 bucks, so, or 48 bucks. The last one that I speculated on was the most recent set, or before this one, that's coming out next week. Was Thing in the Ice. So, Thing in the Ice was $3, $3.50, maybe $4, and I was like, it's a cool effect. Flips into a pretty big creature. I was thinking that a lot of people were going to go bonkers over this, and that alone would cause a price spike. So I bought 6 copies because I wasn't sure. I was like, maybe I'm wrong in my evaluation. Maybe this is just going to be a jank rare. I wasn't confident in how frequent or how reliable the flip would be. And I thought that was going to be really determine how playable the card was. So finally, I invested in it, and like the same night, like within a few hours, it exploded, and I sold them off like at, I think I showed up on a Friday at a game store like 2 weeks later, and I happened to have them in my binder, and I got rid of them at, I think they were like 16 bucks at the time. So I flipped them pretty good. Now I guess, so that's 4 of them. I'm gonna stop there at the 4. So 2 of them I went based on what the community reaction was. So that's important to realize when you're doing your speculations, is look at what people are saying, and if there's hype around the card, one thing is you got to know, you got to flip it quick, because 9 times out of 10 that thing just goes straight down. Once people either play with it and they realize it's not actually that great, it's more like a card that looks great on paper, not in application. And 2 is that the set's being open like crazy, so more and more copies are being flooded into the market. So you need to realize that you got to move your speculations, for me at least, pretty quickly. That's what I do. I don't keep my cards very long. I have a threshold of like, if I can, you know, double or triple my money, like I'm done, I'm out. Like I don't need to hang on to it to get 8 or 9 times the value, even though it's if I wouldn't say no to it. I just think that I don't want to be left holding a bunch of, you know, dollar rares. There's Hangerback Walker, again, coming back to Hangerback Walker. My evaluation was that it was a strong card. I looked at how it could be played in standard and with the new cards, which are synergy with the cards that were spoiled. Again, I was kind of wrong on that. I was right, but I was wrong, right? Like, because he's still a beast card, but his application didn't go the way I thought it was going to go. And there, somebody's got to be lucky. And if I knew all the answers, like for sure this card was going to spike, and for sure this one you stay away from, I'd be a millionaire by now. Like, that's just what it is. Like, it's you try to make educated guesses, but at the end of the day, they're guesses. I don't invest too deep, so like that when I do get burnt, it's neither here nor there. But when I hit big, it's great. It's a fun story to talk about, and it helps pay for the hobby, and that's what this is all about. I'm not trying to build like a hedge fund or anything. I'm just trying to pay for my hobby. Like, I'm flipping these cards and I'm buying more Magic cards, and that's a great way for me to fund the hobby. So that's it. I would love to hear your best specs that you've speculated on, or maybe some interesting stories. And are you still holding on to some cards? How long do you hold on to your cards for? Your tips and tricks, I would love to hear them, and we can share that with the rest of the community. Please comment. I'd definitely love to hear it. And thank you for watching. Subscribe or like the video. Either way, it helps support the channel. And until next time, good gaming.